How we doing, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I have some impressions video on the Ninja along with comparisons to Awakening. But before we get into that, I'm happy to say that I can provide a code for you guys that should be on your screens now. This is all thanks to the people in the partner program. I do really appreciate the support, so thank you very much. And this code will be available to grab as of the 7th of November, 3 p.m. UTC is when it goes live, and that's going to be available for 3 days up until the 10th of November. So go to the Black Desert site and claim your rewards. Hopefully you get something good. But getting into the impressions, it's only day 4 of SUCC Ninja. Subject to change, obviously, as time goes on, but I'm loving it right now. I think I'm having a great time. The movement is so fluid, the damage feels good, the AoEs feel nice. The class just feels great to play. I have a lot to learn. I haven't even scratched the surface when it comes to mastering this class, but I'm already having a good time, and I can see it only getting better as I master the class as time goes on. Now, I will try and get a video out to you guys in the near future for a PvE combo. Hopefully within a week or two I can get that out, but the PvP guide is going to take a very long time. I'm not a particularly fast learner. I need to take my time, really learn the intricacies of this class before I think I'm ready to actually provide a guide for you guys in terms of PvP. But let's get into some comparisons with the Awakening. I'm going to try and keep this short, but there are some major differences between the class, namely in the movement, so that's where we're going to start. Now, like I said, Succession Ninja just feels really fluid. Now, Awaken Ninja has great movement options as well, but it does feel a little bit rigid in certain scenarios. We'll get into that in a minute, but there is one key difference between the movement of Succession and Awakening. In Succession, you do rely a lot more on super armor movement, whereas in Awakening, you're relying a lot more on forward guard movement, and both of these are weaved in between iframes. Now, there's distinct advantages and disadvantages for both these types of movements. One of the advantages for the FG movement is forward guard can protect you from big burst damaging skills from your opponents and protect you from getting any debuffs when used properly. Whereas if we're talking about the super arm movement, you're taking that full damage from your opponents and you're getting debuffed. So that definitely goes a big plus for Awakened Ninja. However, forward guard movement being forward guard movement, there is an inherent flaw. If people get behind you, they can CC you. So in Awakened Ninja, there are certain matchups that really can take advantage of this. One is the mirror matchup, so when you're fighting other ninjas, they're very good at punishing forward guards. Another one is Musar Meiwa and Kuno, and there are plenty of other players on specific classes that can punish your movement if they know how to play against your class. So FG movement does leave your back exposed, whereas when you're using super armor movement, it doesn't matter unless your opponent grabs you, they can't CC you. Whereas in forward guard, not only can they grab you, if they get behind you, you're in trouble as well. So there is some advantages to the SA movement. However, when I was talking about fluidity and chunkiness, the Awakened Ninja, there's a certain scenario when you're in pre-awakening and you stance switch into awakening and you raise your sword for transition stance, that segment of movement just feels very rigid and clunky, and it kind of breaks up the rest of your movement. It's like I've got my pre-awaken movement into my transition stance into my awaken movement. It feels like they're 3 separate entities, whereas when we're playing on Succession, everything feels just connected and it's just very well thought out and very fluid. Everything kind of just flows into one another, and it just feels great. And a big advantage to this new super armor movement that Succession has over Awakening is chip damage. So let's get into this portion comparing the two classes. Succession's chip damage and the ability to pressure your opponents with this damage is so much better than Awakening. And namely, this is for 3 of your super armor movements. So you have 3 movement skills attached to Shuriken Flight, Ankle Cutter, and Crescent Slash. When you activate these 3 skills, you can press right trigger after the activation of these skills. This takes you into a movement that then also applies damage. So you can really chip your opponents down and force them to react. You force them to either try and CC you or will allow you to make an opening to CC them. Whereas you don't really have that option in Awakening. You've got Blade Spin, which is an option for both, but in Succession just does so much more damage, really applies a lot more pressure than Awakened ever can. And then you got Katana Shower, which is the red rain of Succession and Awakening. Pretty similar in both ends. So they both have access to that, and they both have access to Illusion in terms of protected chip. That is a forward guard, so it does have the opportunity to get punished. But it does apply a slow, and it does do good damage on both sides. But like as we talked about, you got 5+ options of chip damage in Succession, when you've only got 3 protected options in Awakening. But obviously, in both these scenarios, there are skills that you can use to damage your opponents. They're just not going to be protected, ergo they're not going to be safe. So the chip damage, I'd say, definitely goes to Succession Ninja. And finally, let's talk about that combo damage. So Awakened Ninja has an advantage when it comes to Serpent Ascension, that one massive hitting skill that's got Reasonably buffed like crazy. So what this allows you to do in the 1v1, it makes your combos pretty simple, and in a lot of situations you don't really need to combo. So it does do a lot of damage. In 1vx, it's not as effective, obviously. Like when you get it off, it's amazing because it does so much burst damage, and if you do one-shot your opponent, that's great because it just allows you to then use the other skills to move around and try and pick off a kill here or there. However, a disadvantage, if you're using Serpent Ascensions in that 1vx, it's unprotected, and it does last long enough for people to be able to react, catch you, and kill you. So you have to be a bit more tricky, you have to be a lot more aware of your positioning to use it in that 1vx. But it also has, Awakened Ninja does have some other hard-hitting skills, i.e. Shadow Stomp, Heart Aiming, and Illusion. Obviously, these 3 skills I mentioned are all pre-Awakening skills, so Succession Ninja also has access to these skills. Blade Spin is also an option, but it doesn't do as much damage. It's a very good damaging skill, but the other skills that I've mentioned, those 3 along with Serpents, they're your really high damage skills that you have. But like I said, in terms of combo damage, Succession Ninja has access to all of these, and all of Succession Ninja skills, I say all, most of Succession Ninja skills have really good damage. This gives you a large variety of ways to be able to combo your opponents, and it's just more consistent across the board in terms of your combos. Whereas Awakening, you're really relying on that Serpent's Ascension a lot of the times. You're not relying on it as... well, obviously you're not relying on it at all in Succession because you don't have it, but you're not relying on a specific skill in Succession to kill your opponents. You can mix and match any way you want. Obviously in Awakening, you don't need to use Serpents to kill people, but that skill is so core and it does so much damage, and once you start fighting with people that have high DPs and are using evasion memes, you have to use Serpents then. Whereas in Succession, you're still free to do what you want. Now obviously there are some combos that do more damage than others. I have to spend a lot of time trying to mid-max and find out what I think is best for where we are on console, and I do have to mess around with different builds for myself and my opponents. But that is the overall impressions video. I will hopefully, like I said, get a video within a week or 2 for PvE, but it's going to be a while for the PvP. I'm going to end this one with a mini montage of very scuffed ninja gameplay. Like I said, I am still learning it. Hopefully as time goes on, you'll see these montages get better in quality. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Calling to say I say I